I've done a couple of videos on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni situation, and well, here's the thing, right? Like, okay, from all of the available evidence, it really does seem like, okay, Blake Lively's a total disaster, and Ryan Reynolds isn't really helping his case at all whatsoever. And this is really just, a very obvious cut and dry attempt to try to squeeze somebody out after production ended up getting way too far out of hand. But at the same time, like, while you can draw parallels to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard situation, there really isn't a clear-cut good guy in this situation, because Justin Baldoni, oh boy, I would never, ever normally hold up a male feminist as any sort of unjust victim, especially somebody who recently, and I also got better context on this, I forgot, like, I've heard his name before, and I've definitely seen some of the stuff that he's done, mostly because, what was that, last year, the year before, he was somebody who was getting promoted, not just by certain circles, okay, as a male feminist, but by the Department of Homeland Security under the Biden administration. Back when they were cracking down on manosphere content creators, like Fresh and Fit, Just Pearly Things, I think even Rolo Tomasi ended up getting, roped up into that stuff. They ended up getting put on a list, and a couple of those creators ended up getting demonetized, and that's why you don't see them pushed on YouTube so much anymore. And all of that traffic, due to an emphasis on toxic masculinity, they ended up getting pushed towards several different more sanitized, for lack of a better term, blue-pilled content creators, and one of those happened to be Justin Baldoni and the Man Enough podcast. So yeah, this is one of those weird situations where I'm kind of rooting for both people, or in both parties in this situation, to achieve mutually assured destruction. But just because I despise both parties and one party's tactic over another, and I just despise who one of them is over the other people, because generally speaking, like, outside of hearing that, and knowing that Ryan Reynolds is kind of an asshole on set, like, I would much rather hang out with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds than Justin Baldoni, mostly because I don't want to paint fingernails with this very happy individual. But at least cracking jokes with Ryan Reynolds will be fine, and then reminiscing back, a couple years, about a decade ago when Blake Lively was just hot. That could be fun. But Baldoni just being, the proper male ally, yeah, I could kind of do without. But just because, okay, of all of that additional stuff over the top of it, doesn't necessarily mean that we can't learn from the problems at hand, okay? It's part and parcel of being a grown-up. You don't have to like everybody that's out there. It's kind of like appreciating an actor for giving a good performance. Like I've said before, Robert De Niro, one of my favorite actors, couldn't be more different as human beings. But I digress. Let's focus in on, I guess, the pro-Blake side of this, because we've done a lot of pro-Justin, and we're going to get to that very shortly. But just simply looking at the facts here, like, what are the attacks against Baldoni here? Because we've seen the evidence as presented so far, and yeah, okay, if we just simply follow the facts, we can definitely lead to one conclusion. But what about the narratives being spun out there? Okay, Justin Baldoni accused of toxic positivity by former employee amid Blake Lively lawsuit. It felt phony. Well, he's a male feminist. Of course it's going to be phony, and of course he's going to be one of these rah-rah idiots in the face of annihilation, rather. You could even get that sentiment off of the text messages. Former employees of Justin Baldoni's company have accused him of performing toxic positivity and evangelizing his Baha'i faith in the workplace. I mean, I'm not surprised by this at all. The claims were published by Wednesday in the Los Angeles Times in a profile on the embattled It Ends With Us star, who also directed and produced the film that is at the heart of a legal fight with co-star Blake Lively over allegations of SH and defamation. One person who worked with Baldoni's production company, Wayfarer Studios, told the outlet that Baldoni's bright demeanor felt insincere. Oh, it felt like, but was it? Well, probably. I mean, like, seriously, look at this fruit. Like, you can even draw the green lines on that guy, and there's nobody to compare it to, but he already just looks like a cuck. It was constant positivity all the time. Oh, but I thought that's what that side of the conversation always wanted. They wanted people who are upbeat, unless, of course, they don't like it anymore because my vibes are off. I would say toxic positivity. The ex-employee said, "I'm always a little dubious of people who advertise themselves as disruptors to the status quo quo were quote-unquote good people. It felt phony. However, other Wayfarer vets had positive impressions from their experience at the company. This is the quality of your arguments against the facts of the text messages that just all but vindicate Baldoni. The vibe was off. See, this is the problem, man. When you start to place emphasis over feels as opposed to reals, this is what you end up with. A bitched up society is an unjust society. A gynocentric social order prioritizes the happiness and contentness, even though that can never be achieved on a consistent basis for women, above all else. And this is what we have right here. He has a highly creative and in tune with the spiritual side. And sometimes that felt phony. Sometimes it felt insincere. And I didn't really like that. So I needed to put that in a legal document in order to bolster Blake Lively's side, who wants to stifle independent content creators going over the evidence. And she also wants to take down a website full of all of the proof that she's a liar. Yeah, this is why, for as much as I would love to see this man bun having dork, okay, this idiot who has an entire podcast about building a better beta and how we just need to sit and listen to women, how men need to be man enough to step aside and let the women lead. Well, you can just look at this situation in a vacuum, remove all of the actors there, and learn from it, because that's what's important. Because looking at the other side of this, Blake Lively hires former CIA op for crisis PR management as public backlash against her grows. Because, yeah, for as much as you could take a look at the pro-Blake Ryan Reynolds side of this, you just can't come away with anything other than, oh, cool, there are people that thought he kind of seemed a little bit off. Yeah, okay. What are you doing to help yourself get in bed with the CIA? Okay. Blake Lively is bringing in heavy PR reinforcements as her legal battle with It Ends With Us co-star and director Justin Baldoni escalates. The actress, who is simultaneously suing and being sued in multiple lawsuits, has now enlisted Nick Shapiro, of course, a former CIA deputy chief of staff and senior advisor to ex-director John Brennan, to handle her crisis communications strategy. A member of Lively's legal team at Wilkie, Farr and Gallagher confirmed the hiring, stating the litigation team for Ms. Lively retained Mr. Shapiro to advise on the legal communication strategy for the ongoing lawsuit occurring in the Southern District of New York. While it's a standard for high-profile figures to seek crisis PR specialists during legal disputes, Lively's decision to hire a former intelligence official with extensive government experience stands out. Shapiro, who launched 10th Avenue Consulting in 2015, after leaving the government service, has handled crises with political and national security implications. His bio lists experience with situations such as the Boston Marathon incident, the Gulf oil spills, and Japan's earthquake and Fukushima disaster, and even cybersecurity threats and data breaches. So is Lively's grand narcissism and solipsism put her on the same level as a Fukushima disaster? It's kind of interesting. The background raises a critical question. Why does Blake Lively need a crisis manager with deep government ties for a Hollywood legal battle? Well, if you know how entrenched the CIA and other three-letter agencies are with Hollywood, it makes a lot of sense. But unlike Shapiro's previous clients, typically public figures in national security, politics, and large-scale corporate crises, Lively's case does not appear to involve government affairs. However, her team's strategy has increasingly focused on controlling the public narrative, a battle they seem to be losing. Lively's decision to bring in a crisis PR specialist comes as public sentiment continues to shift against her. The trailer for her latest film, Another Simple Favor, has a massive surge in negative reaction since its release. But that could also just be an Amazon Prime thing, because holy shit, have they put out a bunch of slop recently. Yeah, and we checked in last time on this, and yeah, it was already getting ratioed, and it just really hasn't improved at all. But I mean, have you seen the trailer for G20? Have you seen the trailer for, oh my god, what's that slop fest that's out there, which is kind of a funny premise, but it's an animated feature about a Muslim family that came over to the United States in September of 2001. It's like, that could be funny, but then it's what, a number one happy American family? Oh my god, it's some of the biggest cringe you are likely to ever see. So yeah, this just could be, general pushback against Amazon, which has also put out Rings of Power, which to me personally is about the biggest disaster that anybody associated and referenced in this article has ever been around. People could just be done with this dumb service, but Lively's declining public image is directly impacting her latest project. And also having a knock-on effect for her husband, who is also attached to something much bigger and very much also trying to manage a public relations nightmare in the form of the MCU and Disney in general, hoping that they can go ahead and reverse their fate and more than likely leverage Deadpool in some form or fashion for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, because, he's going to pop up then. But it's very interesting to see how quickly this has escalated, because we've heard for a while that, It Ends With Us was a very, very, very troubled production for a very, very, very long time. And then to hear all of the results and to hear all of these different lawsuits start to come out, started to remind us of a bunch of different disputes in recent years. And while everybody was dogpiling Baldoni at the start, he ended up vindicating himself. And then the longer this goes on, I think the more people are starting to come to the realization that while he might be right, not really worth saving, but you can still, like I said at the beginning, learn from the situation, come away with some tactics so that you know how to move accordingly going forward in your own life, and ultimately realize that trying to run beta game like being a male feminist, it's not going to protect you from any of this nonsense. Female feelings are going to be placed above everything else, and the only way that we fight back on this and push back on this nonsense is with cold, hard facts. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Doc Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.